Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Schlayer, and today we are looking at the Life Staff. It's a role I've been talking with my group about, and I think I'm going to be taking on the Life Staff, which is something totally new to me. I play a little bit of healing roles, games like Overwatch or something, but otherwise, I've never really played a healer role inside of an MMO, so this will be a new challenge for me. It'll be super fun, and I'm expecting some feedback down in the comments on my choices of what I'm going to be doing for this build. As we can see, I've taken Sacred Ground, Orb of Protection, and Light's Embrace as my 3 perks. The general idea of my build is more focused on buffs. And there's a lot of really good passives that are like, if you have a buff, heal 10% more. Buffs you grant last 20% longer, stuff like that. That's what I was thinking about more when I was building this together. Again, there's a lot of different routes you can go. I saw a lot of people using Splash of Light, or I saw a lot of people using Beacon. So there's options, but right now, let's start off with going into Sacred Ground. Of course, everybody wants Sacred Ground. Sacred Ground creates an area on the ground that lasts for 15 seconds and heals 20% weapon damage every second. And it costs 15 mana and has a cooldown of 20 seconds. So that's pretty darn good. Going down into that tree, we have Holy Ground, which regenerates stamina and mana 100% faster while in Sacred Ground. So it's also good if you're having anybody else in your group who's maybe playing with a Fire Staff or Ice Gauntlet, or heck, yourself. You can go in there and you can regenerate your stamina and mana. And then lastly in this tree is Blessed. While allies are in Sacred Ground, they are healed for 50% more from all healing. So that's really, really good. Like I said, this one's a very powerful ability that you want to have in your toolbar. Light's Embrace is a targeted heal for 100% weapon damage plus 30% more for each buff on that target. And that's why I also want to focus on giving out buffs, because Light's Embrace is very, very powerful in the sense of Orb of Protection can give out Fortify, and then you go down into the tree. You can also give Recovery, plus then food buffs, and any of these other buffs that like tanks would probably have. It's just like it piles on and gives a massive amount of damage. So this one's probably really good for a tank or a DPS and stuff like that. Next in that tree is Inspire. When you heal a target with Light's Embrace, target receives 25 stamina. Again, really, really good. And lastly is Connection. When you heal a target with Light's Embrace, gain 1% of your max mana for each buff your target has. Again, huge for buffs. And lastly, to unlock the ultimate ability, Magnify, you do have to unlock everything for Light's Embrace and then have the 10 points in the tree. Because when you heal with Light's Embrace, extend life staff buffs by 2 seconds. So if anybody's in there and you have put out all your buffs on them from all these other passives and stuff, then boom, you get an extra 2% on them once you heal people with Light's Embrace. So that's a pretty awesome way to just keep things kind of going along. And for the last ability, I decided to choose Orb of Protection, and I chose this over Beacon, and I'll tell you why. Beacon is pretty cool. It shoots out a light projectile that deals 146 weapon damage to all the enemies, attaches it to the target itself, and then heals all nearby allies for 20% weapon damage for each second or 10 seconds. So again, really, really cool. And then you go into that tree a little further. Beacon area is now affected 50% larger, which is nice. Then it lasts 5% longer, 5 seconds longer, sorry. And then Speed of Light is when Beacon heals a target, it also applies 20% haste. So there's another buff you could add on. But I decided to do Orb of Protection, mainly because the cool thing about Beacon was you're able to shoot it and then it kind of sticks with the target and moves around the area to make sure everybody gets kind of what they want. It doesn't have that effect initially with Orb of Protection, but at the bottom here, when the projectile hits, it affects all allies within a 3-meter radius. So if you're playing in a pretty good tight-knit group, especially in a dungeon or even in PvP, and your group is actually doing pretty well and staying together, this is pretty much effective, just like Beacon in that regard of it's a nice big AoE effect, and then you're able to have it go around and target everybody in almost a similar regard. Beacon is cool in the sense that you can go in and then come out. I don't think that's the same with Orb of Protection, but I guess once you get hit in that same area, it's going to be the same effect. But I digress. Orb of Protection, you shoot out a light projectile that grants 10% Fortify for 20 seconds, heals an ally for 10% of the weapon damage, and deals 146% weapon damage when it hits an enemy. So that's pretty cool. It just heals the person for 10% of the weapon damage. It doesn't say in seconds, so I think it's just an initial 10% heal, but you do get that 10% Fortify for 20 seconds versus healing of 20% for 10 seconds. So those are the two differences. You're technically getting 10% extra little bit of heal plus the Fortify bonus, and then that's a buff on top of it. that you're going to be able to, again, activate within a passive or another ability, which is super cool. And then going into Protector's Blessing, if Orb of Protection hits an ally, they gain recovery for 10 seconds, so another buff. Shared Protection, if you successfully heal an ally with Orb of Protection, you also gain Fortify and Recovery on yourself, so even better. And then lastly, like we said, when this projectile hits, it affects all allies within a 3-meter radius. So really, really nice. And now we go into the passives. Passives are pretty important. Resolved, Light Staff, light and heavy attacks no longer take mana. Going into that tree, I would get Blissful Touch, which light attacks now heal targets for 20% weapon damage when passing through an ally, something really good to spam out. Next would be Revitalized. When you hit with a light attack, reduce all your cooldowns by 5%. And then lastly, on this side, we actually can't see this, so I'm going to switch over to worldforge.gg. That one is Sacred Protection. While holding a life staff, increase the base health of all friendlies in your group by 10%. So that's a really, really good one as well. Moving on to the Protector side, I decided Protector's Touch, where life staff, light, and heavy attacks grant 15% Fortify for 3 seconds when hitting an enemy. Or at the beginning, you could get Bend Light, which after a dodge, you heal 20% more effective for 5 seconds. That's pretty darn good. Next one I would pick would be Protector's Strength. If you have a buff heal for 10% more, again, I'm going to be trying to get a lot of these buff increases. Then I go into Spirits United, increase mana regeneration for you and your group members by 3%. I don't know if that's going to be that bad into mid to late game, but hey, I think it'll be a good thing, and if anything, you can respec it. And lastly is Glowing Focus. Buffs you grant last 20% longer. Again, another nice increase to buffs, which is always a plus in my case. With that said, that is the life staff, at least my version. I know there's plenty of other ways to play it. There's a lot of different varying opinions. Definitely leave some comments down below on what your thoughts are on this build, maybe what you would change or what you're deciding to use. If you like these videos, definitely give it a like and subscribe for more content coming up. We'll see you in the next video and have a good one. Peace. Oh, I missed, so that's great. So when you do that, you back up, it actually stalls the weapon, so just note